Before we break down my final 2025 NFL mock draft, one day before the real thing, we are 5 subs away from 406,000 subscribers here on Chat Sports. Let's get there like within 2 minutes, because I guarantee there'll be at least 5 of you watching right now who are not subscribed. Be that 406,000. Hit that sub button for me right now. There is no surprise about the number 1 pick. That is going to end up being Cam Ward at number 1 overall. My goal with these mock drafts is to get as many player team fits right properly. That's how it ends up getting scored. I'm 12th right now. I don't want to drop down any further than what I've been in the national rankings there. It's obviously going to be Cam Ward at number 1. Titans get the franchise QB. Trade's not going to happen. I know there's been some buzz about the Travis Hunter, or the Browns trading the number 2 pick. I know they're just going to take Travis Hunter. I don't really think there's any other outcomes there. I'd be surprised if it wasn't Hunter. I think most people would be surprised. Same with Abdul Carter going off the board at number 3 overall. Again, there's been some trade whispers, buzz out there. I think the Browns and Giants have to be blown away, which seems extremely unlikely. I guess you can't totally rule out Shedeur Sanders at 3, especially if ownership gets involved. But, I mean, even Abdul Carter himself talks about how, when he plays for the Giants, it's kind of the expectation there. Same, frankly, with Will Campbell at number 4 overall, the LSU offensive tackle. Arm length, the wingspan are completely valid concerns. But, again, Patriots have a glaring need at offensive tackle. If Hunter, Carter aren't there, take one of the next best players at the biggest position of need. Makes a ton of sense. The drama comes in at pick number 5, and who it ends up being and what team makes the pick. I think the Jags have done a good job about sending a lot of muddled information about who they want, if they could trade it. I think they're trying to get a team like the Bears to jump up and trade up to take Ashton Jeanty. So, might not be the Jags making the pick at 5. What player do you think ends up being selected at number 5? Let me know in the comment section, the pinned comment of today's show. This is where I have no idea what's going to happen. Who will be the pick at number 5 overall? I'll go a little bit different on this one. That's Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle out of Texas. There's been a late charge of buzz on, hey, he's above Armand Membou. The Jets like him. The Raiders could take him. I think if the Jags trade down to 10, I think a Tedero and McMillan, even maybe a Tyler Warren, is very much in play at that spot. If they cannot get a team like the Bears to jump up, maybe they surprise us and take Banks. Play him at guard for a year, play him at tackle. I think Ashton Jeanty's in play. I think Tyler Warren's in play. Sounds like it's not going to end up being Mason Graham. I am hedging my bet a little bit here by going Banks at 5. You'll see that at 10, by the way. Armand Membou then goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. Sounds like the pick's not going to end up being Ashton Jeanty. There's been some Banks buzz for the Raiders as well. But Membou's a plug-and-play option in there at right tackle, and then you re-sign Colton Miller, and you feel so much better about your offensive line. I do think Banks is in play at number 7. I think Mason Graham would be in play at 7, since if he's not going to the Jags, where he goes gets a little bit uncertain. I am trying to not overdo the recent buzz side, because that stuff often ends up being wrong. All of it ends up being wrong in some capacity. I liked Warren a lot for the Jets originally, and I'm kind of back now on that pick, especially with Membou not there. I know there's buzz like, hey, maybe Walter Nolan could be a surprise pick at number 8 overall to the Carolina Panthers. I would be kicking myself, though, if we got through the draft and pick 8, and then it was the guy that we've all linked to the Panthers for so long, and I changed it at the last minute. So I would be very upset with myself if that happened. But I think a trade down for all these teams would be nice. I think Carolina would like it. I think Walker, Micah Williams, maybe a Walter Nolan, Dark Horse, Ted McMillan, all in play there. Trying to figure out where Mason Graham goes gets dicey. It's not Jacksonville at 5, isn't it? Where he goes, I think, is a bit uncertain. I think the Saints, yes, they have Brian Brzee. Just take good players up front. Probably out they need to go. I think Kelvin Banks is in play at 9. I think McMillan's in play at 9. I think Micah Williams, Jalon Walker. Just trying to find the right spot for Graham, who could very well end up going 10. Part of me just wonders if the Saints are just lying to everybody because there is a quarterback they want at number 9, and they don't want to miss out on him, and they don't want someone to snipe them, and they're just playing we're not taking a QB game, and then they will at 9. So with that in mind, the current over-under right now is 2.5 QBs in the first round. Over or under that figure in this year's NFL draft. So obviously Cam Ward, Shedeur, Dart, Chuck, O for over, U for under. Let me know in the comments of today's show. I'm hedging my bet at 10 with Ashton Jeanty of like, hey, maybe the Bears trade up, which I think would have a pretty big trickle-down effect for how this draft ends up playing out there. I think the Bears would love to get Jeanty. Can they get him is the question mark. Don't know if Mike Hillam's going to make it to number 11. I think if he does, I think he's an obvious pick for San Francisco. They need trench play help. I think they're going to target defensive line. So Shamar Stewart, Walter Nolan. If Mason Graham somehow falls, feels like a home run pick for the 49ers. But I'll put Michael Williams here at 11. Tetairoa McMillan, I think it's what the Cowboys would love to have available at 12. He could be gone at 5, and it's all moot. In which case, like Matthew Golden, or they try real hard to trade down. Maybe they look at a guard in a trade down scenario. Cornerback could very much be in play. So I wouldn't totally rule out a different option, but I think Tetairoa McMillan at 12 is what the Cowboys would like the most. Kelvin Banks, I don't think gets there, so I think corner stands out, and I think Jahdae Barron has a real chance to go off the board before Will Johnson. There's some medical stuff that we got to keep an eye out for on that front for Will Johnson. More on that in a little bit. But with Jalen Ramsey's future uncertain, Barron makes so much sense. Same with Colston Loveland. I haven't really changed my mock draft pick on this one for a while, which makes me think it's definitely going to end up being wrong. And like the dark horse idea that if I had done trades, I might have gotten wild with it, but then I get a bunch of picks wrong. I look really stupid. The Rams coming up the board for Warren or Loveland wouldn't be a surprise to me. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks today. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup. Whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick of more or less for that shot to up to 2,000 times your cash today. Or do season-long football Prize Picks slates. I always advise the flex play on these because it kind of helps cover in case someone ends up going down or they're off to a bad year. But if you get 2 out of 3 right, the flex play ends up hitting for you. CeeDee Lamb more than receiving touchdowns and Dak Prescott more than passing touchdowns. Breece Hall less than rushing yards. The high more than less than. That's never had a 1,000-yard season. So go download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Falcons at 15. I feel like edge is where they end up going here. I think Shamar Stewart could be in play. James Pierce could also be an option. I wonder if the character concerns for Pierce are more troubling for NFL teams than the ones for Mike Green. I got Will Johnson at 16, and I'm a big fan of his game. I like him a lot. There's been a lot of buzz and reporting over the last 2-3 days that there's a knee injury for Will Johnson that teams are concerned about long term. That type of stuff, even if it doesn't get the deteriorating knee condition, whatever you want to call it, tag, that's a concern for me. I don't know what Arizona does. I think Josh Simmons could be in play, but he's a hurt guy too. I think edge is an option, defensive tackle. I don't have a great feel for what the Eagles will end up doing. I feel like the money 5 spot is where they end up pursuing in the end. Bengals 17 for Walter Nolan. I would also owe Jack Sperry $5 if you went forward for the Steelers pick in this scenario. Like Shamar Stewart, Walter Nolan, maybe one of the safeties or Jihad Campbell, also options for Cincinnati. Normally, I can rely on Dave Lapham to get the good insight as to who they're going to end up picking. His prediction was Will Campbell, which is just not going to happen, so we learn nothing from that one. Number 18 is Gray Zabel, the offensive lineman out of North Dakota State. It would be a bit of a change in strategy of the Seahawks drafting a guard early, which they never really do. My God, they need it. And I think Zabel's going to go somewhere in this top 20 range. John Campbell out of Alabama. I love his fit in Tampa. I think he could be a dark horse play for 11, maybe. It seems a bit unlikely, but a possibility. I know Dallas likes him a decent amount, but probably not at 12, more in a trade down. Indy at 14. Arizona maybe at 16. Bengals 17. I think in the Todd Bowles defense, he's a fantastic fit. Number 20, Marion Hampton out of North Carolina. That is the pick for Denver. I don't know if they'll actually trade up. They could do something crazy and take like a different receiver, or maybe not. Receiver's not crazy, but or like Trevor Henderson. But I feel like Hampton at 20 is such a good fit for Denver and what they want to do on offense. Here's Shedeur Sanders at pick 21. I don't know where he goes because if the rumors are the Raiders aren't going to take him and the Jets and Saints won't take him, there's nobody taking a quarterback in that 10 to 20 range. It's just now maybe a team trades up and snipes Pittsburgh. That's possible. That wouldn't be a huge surprise, whether that's a Saints, a Giants, a Browns, whatever. But I don't know where Shedeur ends up going. And it could be a unique night for a we've often seen QB slide. Where Shedeur goes is probably, because he's a quarterback too, is probably one of the biggest, draft impact things to monitor in this year's class. So give me your predictions. Who ends up drafting Shedeur Sanders? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 22, Matthew Golden to the Chargers. He could go 12, but I have a tough time seeing him get past like this kind of run of like 18 to 23. If he doesn't end up going quite that early. But again, 12 would not be a huge surprise for me. Shamar Stewart, I think, again, he could go top 11. Wouldn't be a huge shock. He is such a Packers type of edge rusher, though, that I actually love the fit a lot. So I kind of someone's got to slide out of the top 20. Figuring out who it ends up being, I'm not totally sure who it is yet. I think Minnesota will trade down. They have 4 picks. They love assets. They are the most obvious trade down team maybe ever, if they can find a partner, obviously. I'm not going to do trades. I'll give them Nick Emmanwori, the safety out of South Carolina. Give them a long-term fun piece. Houston at 25, Josh Simmons, also kind of hedging my bet because they could trade up for him. Like they could. It wouldn't shock me if they went to 15 and traded up for an offensive lineman. That wouldn't be a huge shock. Falcons are light on draft capital. Simmons, don't have to rush him back from the injury because you have Cam Robinson, and there's your franchise left tackle. Now, the Rams, again, I mentioned a tight end trade up is an option. I almost went with an offensive line. I'm going to stick with my original gut feeling. They need a corner. Maxwell Harrison is a great fit. He's in the green room. I think he sneaks in the back end of round 1, and if he doesn't, he probably doesn't last too long into the top of round 2. Malachi Starks is a very Ravens pick, by the way. It is, hey, talented SEC player who fell to the Ravens somehow at 27. That happens like every year, it feels like. So I like that one. Trying to find spots, some of these last couple guys, by the way, wasn't easy. And that includes Emeka Egbuka. Because I had Matthew Golden sliding. Like, this is kind of easy if, like, Egbuka goes 22 to the Chargers or something. If, Golden goes to Dallas 12. Lions have been kind of mentioned as a potential option for a trade with Jameson Williams. Egbuka is a good run blocker. I think he is a great Dan Campbell type of player. Commanders, 29, Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. That is the edge rusher for BC. I like him a lot. I've got a pretty high second-round grade on him. I think edge is an obvious fit for the Commanders. Trade down, maybe a corner, or if there's a running back that slides, could also be in play. Kenneth Grant, I almost went into 24 because I know that the Vikings liked him last year going into the season. Grant out of Michigan gives them a big run-stopping defensive tackle, which is helpful with some suspensions some of their guys are facing up front, or one of their guys is facing up front, Ogunjobi. I also thought about corner here with Trey Amos, too. I think Josh Connerly sneaks in around 1. I think the Chiefs, if they want to give him some time to develop, and you could always play Jalon Moore at guard if you needed to still, I think throwing assets on the offensive line is probably the best path for Kansas City. I almost went Travion Henderson here. I thought about Derek Harmon. Honestly, he could be a surprise top 15 pick. There's been some medical whispers for Derek Harmon that I think is a concern for people. I think the Steelers 21 are a really good fit for him. Like, if it's not Shedeur, I would have gone Derek Harmon at Pittsburgh at 21. But Eagles take a money 5-ish player to DT on an edge, but still they like adding those types of assets. Fits their mold. They get a top-ranked defensive player who slides. I guarantee I left probably 4 to 5 to 6 players who are going to go in round 1 out of this mock draft. Who is it? I'll mention some names here in a second, but let me know in the comments of today's show. Jackson Dart wouldn't surprise me. I think it's silly, but it wouldn't surprise me. Travion Henderson, I think, is an outside shot at being a running back in round 1. Luther Burden, I like him, but it seems like the NFL is not as high. I don't really get it. Mason Taylor, I thought about him in Philadelphia, replace Dallas Goedert, but that's not how he normally drafts. Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker, I had a lot of offensive linemen go already, but it could be a massively heavy offensive line class this year. Neither guy going in round 1 would be a surprise to me. James Pierce, if the character stuff checks out for people, he's an option. Nick Scorton with the Commanders is a low-key underrated fit. Carson Schwessinger, I think, could sneak in the back end of round 1. Probably won't last long in round 2 either. And then Trey Amos, the cornerback out of Ole Miss. And even Savone Revel Jr., I think, could be, Bills are options there at 30.